Hello. Good morning. My name is May Doblau, and I'm here live in Honolulu, Hawaii from our condo. And I want to talk today from this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. We're going to go over the luckiest man in Babylon, and we're going to talk about how to create our own luck with money, with wealth. So let's start. Before I get into it, though, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. All right, I live in Honolulu, Hawaii. I used to work at a bank here, and I got into a lot of debt around 2009, 2008. A lot of different decisions causing it. It was all consumer debt, which means it was credit cards and personal loans. It wasn't like a mortgage or anything like that. I had no assets except for a little bit of savings. I started saving around that time. And so my net worth ended up being at its worst negative something like 30,000. It got worse before it got better. So by April 2016, I had paid off all that debt, and I quit my job in December 2016 to start. Well, I actually already had started this business, but to work it, focus on it more, a couple hours a day, and to become a full-time mom. So right now, I am a full-time mom. It is my dream profession. Thank you. Took me a while to realize that was my dream, but I really do love being a mother and a wife. So I have a really wonderful family. I have a 5-year-old. His name's Jordan. When I quit my job, he was 3, and I really wanted to spend more time with him. So it was a dream come true for me. And I also started coaching people on how to pay off debt and create passive income at the same time. So in 2017, we bought our first property in Waikiki, and in 2018, we bought our second property in Waikiki. They are both Airbnbs right now. And yeah, that's about it. We make passive income, $517 per month in passive income from various stock dividends and interest and things like that. And then we also make money from our Airbnb businesses, which we just started recently. So I still count them every month to figure out how much we're making. So it's a really exciting journey for me. Went from really broke single to having a I have over a 6-figure net worth. And I had a negative net worth before, right? Negative 30-something thousand, now it's over 150,000. So I've improved my net worth by leaps and bounds and own property now and make passive income every month. And it's growing. And so I'm here to help the community. If you're watching this on my blog, yesfinanciallyfree.com, you can always, if you're not on my email list, go to the right side, put in your first name and your email address, and you'll get on my email list. If you're on YouTube, there's a link under the video to my blog where you can go there, put your name in, and get on my email list. And then I email out the topics I'm going to do every week. And I always have good topics on financial freedom, how to get you free faster. So let's begin. All right, so that was about me. Now it's about you. So my story was just to tell you that I can do it. You can do it, all right? Okay, so The Luckiest Man in Babylon is from the book The Richest Man in Babylon. I highly recommend you read it, reread it again, listen to it. It's by George Clayson. The stories in here were used in a lot of books, banks, publications for a long time to teach people how to be good with money. And it's a really good book. I love it because it's written in stories. All of the chapters are stories that are fun to read, right? It's about Babylon. It has slaves. It has merchants. It has, all kinds of fun things. So I think this book is really well written because it's entertaining and it teaches about money at the same time. So I really like it. This is the second time I'm going through it really thoroughly. So let's go through The Luckiest Man in Babylon. So The Luckiest Man in Babylon is almost the last chapter in the book, and it talks about 2 men, Sharu Nada, who is a very rich merchant, right? And the grandson of his partner, Hadan Gula. All right, so these 2, in the beginning of this chapter, they're riding on a caravan. By the way, I want you to listen to the end because you will get information on how to create your own luck through the story. But listening to the story is part of the experience of learning how to create your own luck. That makes sense. Read it too if you want, and check out the blog too as well. So anyway, basically they're in the desert right now, and they're on a caravan. So they're riding through the desert, all of them together. In the front is Sharunada, who owns the caravan, owns the camels, owns all the riches on the camel. They're traveling from Damascus to Babylon, and they are bringing different things for trading. I think it's like fine cloths and things like that. They have a lot of people guarding the caravan because there's a lot of Arabs who like to rob caravans, so they're guarding it. He has a lot of guards riding with the caravan to keep it safe. But he's feeling, what do you call it? He says he's feeling inwardly troubled. Okay, inside he feels troubled. Why does Sharunada, the owner of all these riches, going through the desert feel troubled? It's not because of the Arabs who might rob him because he has those guards. He's actually not troubled about that. What he's troubled about is the grandson of his partner. Okay, the grandson of his partner, Hadan Gula, is kind of a spoiled kid, right? He's wearing all these jewels, fine clothes, right? And he wants to help him, but he doesn't know how. So he's trying to figure out how to help this kid, right? So basically, they're riding along, and he's like, I really want to help him because his partner, Arad Gula, his partner, who is no longer alive, he's dead, helped him so much that he feels like he can never repay the debt to him. So he really wants to help his friends. So Hadan asked him, why dost thou work so hard, riding always with thy caravan upon its long journey? Dost thou never take time to enjoy life? Right? And then it's really hot to ride in a caravan. Okay, you can imagine they're in the desert and they're riding on all these camels, and they have to bring their own water, and it's hot, so it's hot, right? And it's a lot of work to move a bunch of camels and everyone and get everyone going. So like, why, the young guy Hadan, the grandson, asked that question. So Sharanada smiles and says, to enjoy life, what wouldst thou do to enjoy life if thou wert Sharanada? Okay, so it's like, okay, you're saying I'm not enjoying life. What would you do to enjoy life? You were me. And he's like, wow, if I had wealth like you, I would live like a prince. I would never go across the hot desert. I would spend all my gold as fast as I got them, right? As soon as I got it, I would spend it. And I would wear the richest of robes, the rarest of jewels, and that would be the life I would like, and that would be a life worth living. So that's what he says would be a good life. I think in modern terms, that would be someone like, I just listened to a little bit of this book by Tony Robbins, Money the Mastermind, and it talked about this boxer, Floyd Mayweather. And he's one of the richest athletes in the world, right? He gets paid like $500 million to do a fight, right? And that doesn't even include all the money he makes from pay-per-view. And so he makes a lot of money. But as soon as he gets the money, he spends the money. Like he spends it, then he fights, makes money, spends it. So it's kind of like that mentality. So as soon as you make it, spend it. All right, so that's like the modern version, I guess. Sort of, not the same. Okay, so Sharunada, the older man, he laughs and he says, but your grandfather, he didn't wear any jewels. And you wouldn't use any of your time to work, right? And then Hadan, the grandson, he said, work is made for slaves. So only slaves are supposed to work. Rich people don't work, right? So Sharunada is like, not sure what to say. They're riding along. And finally, they see Babylon, and he tells them, look, that's Babylon in the valley below. And Hadan is like, wow, that's Babylon, the richest city. Wow, that's where my grandfather started his fortune. If he was only still alive, we wouldn't be so pressed for money. So now we can tell that the grandson is having a hard time with money. All right? He's like, if our grandfather were here, we'd have plenty of money. But my grandfather's not here, so now we're having to. That's where he started his fortune in Babylon, right? And then so, what is his name? Sharu says, well, why would you want him to stay here longer than he's supposed to, right? He's already in heaven or wherever he's gone. Your father and you can handle it, and you guys can carry on his good work. And Hadan is like, his name is Hadan, right? Grandson Hadan. Like, no, we don't have my grandfather's gift of making money. No. We don't know how to attract, his secret of attracting the golden shekel. We don't know how to do it, right? So Shara didn't reply. He was riding along, and then he saw these three farmers plowing in the field. He looked at them and he's like, wait, I've seen these guys before. And then he thought and thought, and he's like, oh my gosh, I came by this road 40 years ago, and I saw those three same farmers, and they look exactly the same. It's amazing, right? And at the time, 40 years ago, he had wanted to be those farmers. He had envied those farmers. He would have given anything to be those farmers. And now he is a rich merchant, and those farmers are the same thing that they were before. And he doesn't want to be them anymore, right? So it brought him back to thinking about a story that he wanted to share with Hadan. And he pointed to the plowers and he said, they're still plowing the same field they were 40 years ago. And then Hadan's like, they look like it. Why thinkest thou they are, why do you think they're the same farmers? And he's like, I saw them there, right? I saw them 40 years ago. So then he realized he knew a way he could help the grandson. So he started his plan. So he said, do you want to know how I met your dad, your granddad, right? How we became a partnership that was so profitable. And then Hadan's like, why don't you just tell me how to make golden shekels? That's all I really need to know. I don't need to know the story of how you and my granddad became friends. So Sharu ignored him. Okay, he's like, let's begin, basically. He's like, I wasn't any older than you. And we were walking through, we were chained, there were four of us in a row chained to each other. And I was a slave, right? And we were saying that those, we were talking about those farmers. And Hadan was like, you were a slave? I didn't know you were a slave, And he's like, yes, I was a slave. But he's like, my grandfather never told me you were a slave. And like, well, your grandfather knows how to keep secrets. Can you keep a secret? Hadan's like, yeah, I won't tell anyone that you were a slave, but I'm really surprised that you were a slave, right? And he was shackled to three other men. One was named Megiddo, okay? One was named Zabado, and one was named, they called him Pirate, because he had no name, okay? And they thought he was a pirate because he had a tattoo with like a snake on it. So they were chained together in a row, walking along to Babylon. And Megiddo was saying, look at those farmers, they're so lazy, they're not even plowing, properly. They're just like barely plowing the field. They're not putting much effort, How are they gonna make a good crop? Right? And then Zabado, he was a sheep thief. And basically, let's see, what did Zabado do? Pirate flew into a rage and said, what do those men mean by king waiting us at the wall? Okay, so this is what's going on. The farmers basically said, you guys, you slaves, you're going to go there. The king is waiting for you. He's going to put you to work on the wall. The pirate's all mad. What does he mean he's going to put us to work by the wall? And they're going to make you march bricks up and down the wall until it breaks your back. And then they will. And then he said, they won't beat me. I'll kill them. Right? So pirate said, they're not going to beat me. I kill them before they beat me. Right? Megiddo said, does it make sense to me to talk of masters beating willing, hard-working slaves to death? Masters like good slaves. They treat them well. Zabado is like, who wants to work hard? those plowers are wise fellows. They're not breaking their backs. They're just letting on as if they be. Okay? So Megiddo, if thou can't get ahead by shirking, Megiddo protested, if thou plow a hectare, that's a good day's work, and any master knows it. But when thou plow only a half, that's shirking. I don't shirk. I like to work, and I like to do good work. For work is the best friend I've ever known. It has brought me all the good things I've had, my farm, cows, crops, and everything. Yeah, and where be these things now, scoffed Sabato. I figure it pays better to be smart and get by without working. You watch Sabato. If we're sold to the walls, he'll be carrying a water bag or do some easy job when thou, who like to work, with breaking thy back carrying bricks, said Lucy. Okay, so Shara listened to these guys talking, and then that night he got really nervous. So then he talked to a guard, and he's like, what's going to happen to us? Are we going to go be sold to the wall? So the guard told him, the first place we're going to go is the slave market, all right? So we're going to see if people want to buy you, and you really want to be bought at the slave market, because it's going to be a lot easier than being sold at the wall. Anyone who isn't sold at the slave market will go the next day. Will go to the wall and sell you to the wall. So you really want to be sold at the slave market. So you got to sell yourself and make people want to buy you. All right. So he told Megiddo this. Megiddo's the one who likes to work, and so they decided to. When they went to the slave market the next day, they basically talked to people, told them how hardworking they are, and they're going to work for them, right? And Megiddo got picked up by someone who had a farm, right? And he basically talked to him. He's like, "What kind of a farm do you have?" And he asked him questions. He's like, "Oh, I know how to do this, and that I can help you become more profitable. I can do this, 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 that." It's like a job interview, really, kind of, but it's a slave job interview. So he got basically the farmer bargained and bought Megiddo. Megiddo went off with his new master. And then Shari was getting nervous because no one had bought him yet. Everyone was going. And then this baker came. And he's like, do you have anyone who knows how to bake? So Shari goes up to him, why do you want someone who bakes and they're not as good at baking? Why don't you, I think it would be better if you got me, someone who's very hardworking and who would love to learn anything you teach and teach me baking the right way, and then I will bake and I will make you profitable. And the guy was really impressed by the guy's energy and enthusiasm. So Sharu got bought. He was so happy, he was very excited, So he went off and let's see. Yeah, he was impressed by his willingness and he got bought, right? And he followed his master and he felt like he thought he was the luckiest man in Babylon. That was the part I wanted to make sure. Yeah. So he got bought by the baker. And it's funny because he's like the slave trader who never even noticed him before suddenly was saying all these great things about him just to get a good price on the baker, right? It's hilarious. And then the baker bought him and he went with the baker to his new home, right? And it was great, it was a nice home. They treated him well. And the master taught him how to grind barley in a stone bowl that's in the courtyard, how to build a fire in the oven, how to grind very fine the sesame flour for the honey cakes. And he had a couch in the shed where his grain was stored. And the old slave housekeeper, Swasti, fed him well and was pleased because he helped her do all the heavy tasks. So this was his chance, right? So he started working really hard and he asked, Nana Nade was his master. He asked him how to knead bread, how to bake, and then he learned to do everything. So basically, he ended up getting so good at baking that he did all the work. And then the master didn't have to do any work, right? So the master was really happy that he didn't have to work, and Swasti shook her head like, if a man doesn't work, it's not good, right? So this interesting little story going on here. So then he's like, I felt like I could start making more money, right? So Sharu asked Nana Nade if he could go out and sell honey cakes after everything's done baking. He could go out and sell honey cakes, and then they could split profits somehow. Nananade was like, okay, I'll take half of what you earn to pay for all the flour and the bread and everything, and then we'll split the rest half-half. Basically, Sharu would make a fourth of the profit, so he was very excited, right? So he started doing it. He was successful. He started selling honey cakes, and he started saving money. Started saving pennies, and it was really exciting for him because he wanted to buy his freedom, right? But even as this was going on, Nananade, his master, was no longer working. He was no longer baking. And because he was idle, he started gambling, right? And I didn't mention this in the beginning of the story, but Sharu, the reason he was a slave in the first place was because his brother had gambled and had owed money. And his father bonded him to them so that they wouldn't arrest the other son. And then when they didn't pay him back, they sold him to pay off the other brother's debt. So because his brother gambled and he got sold into slavery in the first place. So while he was selling cakes, he met some people. And one of the people he met, he met three people. Actually, he met all the guys who were in the line, the slave line with him, he met them. So he met Megiddo, the one who loved work and taught him how to work and work hard. He met him, and he was doing really well. He was a foreman on the farm. He was saving up money to buy his freedom. Okay, so he was having a good time. Pirate, he heard that one slave killed a guard, and then he was beaten to death, and it was Pirate. The pirate was beaten to death. He killed a guard. And then the last one was Nevado, right? Is that his name? And he was the one who didn't want to work hard. He was the lazy one. Once he was on the wall selling honey cakes, he saw Nevado. Nevado was like really thin, starving, looking at all these sores and bruises, welts on him. He didn't look very good, right? He gave him one honey cake just because he knew him, and then the guy looked like wanted more. He had to run away before he grabbed the rest of them that he had. So he was not doing well, right? He met all three of the other slaves that went to Babylon with him. And then he met another guy, and his name was actually his future partner, right? So Arad Gula. Arad Gula was a rug merchant, and he sold rugs to housewives. He'd go from one end of the city to the other with a donkey loaded high with rugs and a black slave to tend to the donkey. So he would buy 2 cakes for himself and 2 cakes for his slave. And then he would talk to Sharu, right? Talk to him about what's going on and everything. So thy grandfather said something to me one day that I shall always remember. He said, I like thy cakes, boy, but better still, I like the fine enterprise which thou offerest them. Such spirit can carry thee far on the road to success. But how canst thou understand, Hanagula, which such words of occurring could mean to a slave boy, lonesome in a great city, struggling with all he had to find a way out of his humiliation? Okay, so he remembered Arad Gula because he complimented him. I like your honey cakes, but I like you the most because you're so enterprising, always looking to make money, and you're just like hustle bustle boy, right? So they go on. He goes on his way, and he keeps working and selling honey cakes. But then one day he meets and he finds that work is his best friend, just like Megiddo said, because it's making him all these pennies. And then he finally found, one day he talked to his future partner, Arad Gula. Arad Gula said, why do you work so hard, right? He met him one day. And he told him what Megiddo had said about work and how it was proving to be his best friend. So I showed him with pride all the wallet of pennies and explained how I was saving them to buy them freedom. And he said, when you're free, what will you do? He said, then I will become a merchant. And then Aran Gulab said, I'm going to tell you something, it's a secret, but I am a slave. I am in partnership with my master. So Hadan stops Sharu. Sharu's telling the story about his grandfather and him, right? So his grandfather's Arad, the merchant selling rugs. Sharu is the guy selling honey cakes, right? He's like, wait a minute, stop. And I listen to Sharu's like, stop. You're saying my father was a slave, right? He's like, yes. He's like, I'm not going to listen to lies defaming my grandfather. He was not a slave. He was really angry. And Sharu, he remained calm. He said, I honor him for rising above his misfortune and becoming a leading citizen of Damascus. Art thou his grandson cast of the same mold? Art thou man enough to face true facts? Or dost thou prefer to live under false illusions? Right? It's like, I'm really honored that your grandfather could make it from slavery to very rich and respected. Now, are you like him? Can you face the truth? Can you listen to facts? So he had to really stop and think. He said, my grandfather was beloved by all. Countless were his good deeds. When the famine came, did not his gold buy grain in Egypt, and did not his caravan bring it to Damascus and distribute it to the people so no one would starve? Now you say that he was a despised slave in Babylon. So Sharu said if he had remained a slave, then he would have been despised. But through his efforts, he became a great man in Damascus. So the gods indeed condoned his misfortunes and honored him with great respect. Right? After telling me that he was a slave, Sharanada continued, he explained how anxious he had been to earn his freedom. So now he's talking about the story again, about Ara, his grandfather. After he told him he was a slave, he was telling him he had earned how anxious he had been to earn his freedom. Now he has enough money to buy his freedom, right? But he was no longer making good sales, and he feared that if he left the support of his master, he would fail, right? So Sharu said, no. You have to buy your freedom. Don't stick with your master anymore. Once you get the freedom of being a free man, act like a free man and succeed like a free man. Decide that what you want to accomplish, and then work will aid you to achieve it. And then Arad, Gulab, the grandfather, he said he was glad that Sharu had shamed him of his cowardice, right? He was getting a little scared. He actually had the money to pay for his freedom already, but he was afraid to do it because he was afraid he wouldn't make it out of time. But after he listened to Sharu, and okay, I'll do it. I will buy my freedom and I will be a free man. Okay, so then eventually what happened was really kind of disastrous for Sharu. Okay, so Sharu's doing really well. He's starting to make money. He's really excited. But his master keeps going and gambling because his master isn't working anymore, right? So what happens is he ends up owing so much money that he bonded his slave to a moneylender, and the moneylender came one day and just took him away, all right? And he's like, oh no, I have a new owner, I don't know what this owner is about. So he ended up taking his pennies, burying them somewhere, and then he had to work. I don't know if he had to work on the walls, but he had to work really hard. Yeah, they had to lift, they had to hug. I think he got worked on the wall. I'm not even quite sure. But it was really hard work. They had no tents, no straw for beds. They had to work in the hot desert. They had to dig up buckets of soil. And at first he was all right, but as the months dragged on, his spirit started breaking. Then he had a heat fever. He couldn't eat anymore. And at night he would not be able to sleep very well. And then he was thinking, should I be like Zapato and stop working so hard? But then he remembered what Zapato looked like. He was half dead and starving and greedy for food. He's like, I don't want to do what Zapato did. Should I be like Pirate and in my bitterness kill the people who are making me work? He's like, well, Pirate got beaten to death for that. That won't work either, right? And then he's like, what about Mikito? Mikito, who worked really hard, and he seemed like he had the best plan. But I'm working just as hard as Mikito, and I'm not doing as well as Mikito is doing. Mikito did much better than me. So it's like, what is this? Is only the gods favor one over the other? Like, if you work hard, you'll do well, but if you work hard, you don't. So he started really thinking about that. It was hard for him to sleep because that's what he was thinking about. So several days later, it seemed he was at the end of his endurance and his questions were still unanswered, and then Sasi sent for him. A message came from my master to take me back to Babylon. So he dug up his wallet, or he buried it, and then put on what was left of his robe. It was all torn up and terrible now, and he was back on his way to Babylon. And he was still thinking the same thoughts in his head, right? Besetting a man like a whirlwind, driving him like a storm, whose course no one can follow, whose destiny no one can foretell. Was I destined to be ever thus punished for I knew not what? What new miseries and disappointments awaited me? So he was like depressed, really depressed. Like, I don't know how else could it be worse? Then he rode into the courtyard of his master's house. And guess what he saw? It was Arad Gula, right? And he said, as we went our way, so he went with Arad Gula, he wouldn't let him follow him like a slave would. Normally, when masters walk, slaves follow behind him, but he wouldn't let him follow him behind him. He wanted him walking next to him, right? And he said, I hunted everywhere to find you, right? When I'd almost given up, I met with Swasti, who told me of the moneylender and directed me to your noble owner. And he drove a hard bargain. He made me pay an outrageous price, but you're worth it. Your philosophy and your enterprise have been my inspiration for my new success. And he's like, it wasn't my philosophy, it was Megiddo's philosophy. Megiddo's and your philosophy. I think both of you. We are going to Damascus, and I need you to be my partner. And he said, you're a free man. So he picked up the clay tablet that was like the ownership back then in Babylon. They had tablets for documents. And he threw it on the ground and broke it to pieces like you're free. You know, and he was so happy. Shah was so happy. He was crying, you know. And he knew he was the luckiest man in Babylon. Luckiest man in Babylon. Work, you see, is in the time of the greatest distress, it proved to be my best friend. My willingness to work enabled me to escape from being sold to join the slave gangs on the wall. It was so impressed by grandfather that he selected me to be his partner. And then Hadan, the grandson, we're back to the storytelling. Like, so is that the secret? Grandfather's secret to golden shekels? It was work. He's like, it is the only key he had when I first knew him. That grandfather enjoyed working. Gods appreciated his efforts and rewarded him liberally. And then Hadan's like, I begin to see. So work attracted his many friends who admired his industry and success. Work brought him the honors he enjoyed in so much in Damascus. Work brought him all those things that I have approved. And I thought work was fit only for slaves. So Hadan is finally understanding. Life is rich with many pleasures for men to enjoy, Jaru said. Each has his place, and I'm glad that work is not reserved for slaves. Were that the case, I would be deprived of my greatest pleasure. Okay? Many things do I enjoy, but nothing takes the place of work. I love work, right? So Sharu and Hadan, they rode into Babylon, right? And the guards saluted them. And Hadan said, I always hoped to be a man like my grandfather, right? Never before did I realize just what kind of man he was. This thou hast shown me, so now I understand. I do admire him all the more, and I feel more determined to be like him. I fear I can never repay you for what you've given me, because you've given me the true key to success. And from this day forth, I will use this key, work, right? I shall start humbly as he started, which befits my station, far better than jewels and fine clothes. And then he pulled the jewels off his ears, the rings off his fingers, he reined his horse, and he dropped back in respect for the leader of the group. So in the story, basically, the luckiest man in Babylon is lucky because he worked hard, right? And not only that, there's two sides to the story, which I didn't even realize till I read it again, and I read it last night too, preparing for today. But when he started working really hard as a slave for his first master, Nananade, Nananade ended up not having any work, right? Because the slave was so good. Because he had no work, it was actually bad. He ended up gambling, and then he ended up getting in trouble. So, and at the time, Sasi said, no work for a man is not good. right? So if you're not working, it can cause a lot of terrible things to happen to you. But if you embrace hard work, then Lady Luck will come to you. That's basically how the story goes. Now, this reminds me also of something I listened to in Tony Robbins' Money is Master of Life. I have the book right here, actually. I'll show it to you. So I just got this book yesterday. I'm going to be reading it this month. Master the Game, Money Masters the Game, 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom. They talk in there about how a lot of very wealthy people like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all kinds, singers, like Bono, Elvis Presley, not Elvis Presley, what's his name? Elton John, that's it. There's a lot of older people who are very wealthy and they love to work, right? They love what they do. I know Warren Buffett, ever since he started investing, he's always loved it, right? He loves it. He's never going to stop investing because that's what he loves to do and that's his work. See? And it's made him a very rich billionaire, right? Same thing with Bill Gates. Same thing with a lot of actors, actresses, singers. They love what they do and they keep doing it because they love it. They love the work, right? And even though they are already rich, they just keep doing it because work is actually your best friend. Work is actually really good for your health. Work is actually something that will make you happy. Because when you're working on something you love, it feels good, right? It's not that people want to be idle and have no work. It's that we want to work on something noble and that feels good in our heart, right? And when we have good work, we do good at it, we accomplish things, it's great, right? It makes you feel good, it brings in money, it's just your best friend. That's how to create your own luck. Okay, create your own luck is to work at what you love and to work it as best you can, as hard as you can. Okay? Now, it does not mean that you only work and you work and give up your family, or you work and you give up your health or something like that, okay? But it does mean that work is good and working hard is a good cause for a good enterprise is actually a good thing, right? So that's how to become the luckiest man in Babylon, right? Or the luckiest woman in Babylon. So work, all right? So I hope that was a fun story for you. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. I would suggest you read it. It's really fun reading it for me last night. I'm reading against you now, sort of. So have a great day. Thank you for being on my blog, yesfinanciallyfree.com. If you haven't joined my email list yet, go to the right side of my blog, put in your first name and your email address, and then you will be on the email list. I'll send you lots of great financial freedom tips right off the bat, and you will be notified every time I have a live broadcast. All right? See you again next week, same time. I'm going to do YouTube Lives every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. And then I'm going to do Instagram Lives on the channel Finance Freedom Mastermind every Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Thursday is going to be Facebook. I have Facebook page Finance Freedom Mastermind, right? And also on Friday, actually my name, May Dolblau, do Periscope broadcast at 8:30 a.m. So it's all going to be the same time, 8:30 a.m. Hawaii time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time right now because we're in the winter month. All right, have a great day, guys. Aloha.